Welcome to Trump Wire, your trusted source for breaking headlines, global insights, and sharp analysis from around the world. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. The Supreme Court is the highest court in the United States, a beacon of justice and the final arbiter of the law. It is made up of 9 justices appointed for life, each bringing their unique perspectives and interpretations of the law. Their job is to interpret the Constitution and set legal precedents that shape the nation. These decisions can influence every aspect of American life, from individual rights to the balance of power between the federal government and the states. While many decisions are split along ideological lines, a unanimous 9-0 ruling sends a powerful message. It signifies a rare moment of complete agreement among the justices, transcending their individual philosophies and political leanings. It means all justices, regardless of their backgrounds, agree on a fundamental legal principle. This consensus can strengthen the legitimacy of the court's decision and its acceptance by the public. Such unity signals that the issue at hand transcends politics and is a core tenet of American law. It underscores the idea that some principles are so fundamental that they rise above partisan divides. Unanimous decisions reinforce public trust in the court and the rule of law. They show that the justices can come together to uphold the Constitution and protect the rights of all citizens. In June 2024, the Supreme Court delivered a rare unanimous decision in NRA v. Vullo. This landmark case drew significant attention from both the media and the public. This case wasn't about gun rights, but about the right to free speech. It addressed the boundaries of government authority and the protection of individual liberties. The court's ruling clarified how government officials can interact with private businesses and advocacy groups. It set clear guidelines to prevent government overreach and ensure that free speech is protected. It reinforced protections against government overreach and censorship. This decision was a victory for advocates of free speech and a reminder of the importance of constitutional protections. The decision's impact goes far beyond the NRA, affecting all Americans' rights. It serves as a precedent for future cases involving free speech and government authority. When the court speaks with one voice, it sets a clear, lasting precedent. Such decisions are often cited in future cases and help to shape the legal landscape for generations. The Vullo case is a prime example of the Supreme Court's power to unite around foundational freedoms. It highlights the court's role in safeguarding the principles that define American democracy. The NRA versus Vullo case began after the 2018 Parkland school shooting. Amid calls for stricter gun control, New York officials, including Maria Vullo, were outspoken critics of the NRA. The NRA alleged that Vullo used her regulatory power to pressure banks and insurers to cut ties with the group. They claimed this was not just opinion, but an attempt to punish the NRA for its political speech. The core question: can a government official use their authority to suppress a viewpoint they dislike? The NRA argued this violated the First Amendment and could set a dangerous precedent for any advocacy group. The case made its way to the Supreme Court. The First Amendment protects freedom of speech, a foundational right that shapes the very core of American democracy. It's not just a line in the Constitution, it's a living principle that allows people to express their beliefs, ideas, and opinions without fear of government retaliation or censorship. This protection ensures that all voices can be heard, even those that are controversial, unpopular, or critical of those in power. The right to speak out, protest, and advocate for change is essential for a healthy, functioning society. Importantly, this right applies not only to individuals, but also to organizations, advocacy groups, and the press. Whether you're a single citizen or part of a larger movement, the First Amendment stands as a shield for your voice. The government cannot censor or punish people for their views, nor can it use indirect means, like intimidation or backdoor pressure, to silence them. Attempts to chill speech, even subtly, threaten the open exchange of ideas that democracy depends on. The Vullo case put these principles to the test, raising the question of whether government officials could pressure private companies to suppress speech on the government's behalf, rather than through direct censorship. The Supreme Court has long held that such coercion, where the government tries to get around the First Amendment by leaning on others to do its bidding, is just as unconstitutional as outright bans. The key issue in Vulo was whether New York officials crossed the line from lawful persuasion to unlawful threat. Did their actions amount to government coercion, or were they simply expressing their own views? At its heart, the case was about protecting the marketplace of ideas, ensuring that debate, dissent, and discussion remain free from government interference, no matter how heated or divisive the topic. The First Amendment's true strength lies in defending speech that challenges those in power, because democracy thrives when people can question, criticize, and hold leaders accountable. In the end, the court was asked to decide if the government's actions amounted to unconstitutional coercion, a decision with lasting consequences for free speech and the balance of power between citizens and the state. The NRA accused Maria Vullo, then New York's top financial regulator, of orchestrating a calculated campaign to cripple the organization financially. According to the NRA, this wasn't just a matter of policy disagreement, it was a targeted effort to undermine their ability to function as an advocacy group. The allegations were serious. The NRA claimed that Vullo used her position to pressure insurers and banks to cut ties with the group. But this pressure didn't come in the form of new laws or regulations. Instead, it was allegedly delivered through veiled threats and behind-the-scenes warnings, subtle but powerful enough to make financial institutions nervous about doing business with the NRA. In one particularly striking instance, Vullo was said to have offered leniency to an insurance company that agreed to stop working with the NRA. This kind of quid pro quo, where regulatory relief is exchanged for political compliance, raised alarm bells about the abuse of government power. Vullo's office also issued public guidance letters, warning companies about the reputational risks of associating with the NRA. These letters didn't explicitly ban business with the group. But the message was clear. Working with the NRA could bring unwanted scrutiny and potential trouble from regulators. The NRA argued that these actions created a climate of fear and uncertainty. Companies, worried about their own standing with regulators, began to sever ties with the NRA, even if they had no legal obligation to do so. The chilling effect was immediate and widespread. According to the NRA, this wasn't the free market at work. Instead, it was a case of government officials using their authority to punish a political opponent, an organization whose views they opposed. The line between regulation and censorship, they argued, had been dangerously blurred. The result was devastating for the NRA. They lost key business relationships, making it harder to ensure their operations, process payments, and maintain basic financial services. For an advocacy group, these losses threatened their very ability to exist and speak out. The case quickly became a national flashpoint, highlighting the danger of government using backdoor pressure to silence groups it disagrees with. Critics warned that if left unchecked, this kind of coercion could be used against any organization, regardless of its cause or ideology. The Supreme Court was asked to decide whether these actions crossed a constitutional line, whether they amounted to a violation of the First Amendment's guarantee of free speech and association. The outcome of this case would set a powerful precedent, defining just how far government officials can go in targeting disfavored speech, and shaping the boundaries of free expression in America for years to come. The Supreme Court ruled unanimously in favor of the NRA. Justice Sotomayor wrote that government officials cannot use regulatory threats to suppress speech. The court relied on precedent, reaffirming that informal censorship through intimidation is unconstitutional. Officials can express opinions, but cannot use their power to coerce private parties into compliance. The ruling didn't decide Vullo's guilt, but allowed the lawsuit to proceed. Most importantly, it set a clear legal standard. The First Amendment protects all speakers from government coercion. The decision was a major victory for free speech and a warning to officials nationwide. The Vullo decision isn't just about the NRA, it protects everyone. Imagine if officials could pressure banks to close your church's account or threaten your business for your beliefs. The ruling ensures government can't use back-channel threats to silence disfavored voices. Advocacy groups across the spectrum depend on this protection to operate freely. Without it, many would self-censor, impoverishing public debate. The decision sets a precedent against government intimidation, even in cases involving media or tech platforms. It affirms that your right to speak and advocate can't be taken away by bureaucratic pressure. The Vullo case strengthens democracy by keeping the government's power in check. Though decided on First Amendment grounds, Vullo has major implications for gun rights. The NRA argued that financial pressure was a backdoor attempt to weaken the gun rights movement. If gun groups can't access banking or insurance, they can't function, effectively undermining the Second Amendment. The Supreme Court's ruling gives gun rights advocates a tool to fight back against such tactics. Officials can't use regulatory power to punish pro-Second Amendment advocacy. The decision protects the entire firearms community from covert government pressure. It's a landmark victory for those defending gun rights in the public and commercial arenas. The Vullo decision's impact extends beyond speech and gun rights. It also protects religious liberty. Government officials can't use regulatory power to punish faith-based groups for their beliefs. The Supreme Court recently reinforced this in a case involving Catholic charities in Wisconsin. The Vullo precedent means officials can't pressure banks or insurers to target religious organizations. This protection is vital for religious schools, hospitals, and charities. The principle applies to all groups regardless of ideology. Environmental, progressive, or conservative organizations are shielded from government abuse. The decision ensures the First Amendment protects everyone from intimidation. Vullo is about safeguarding all Americans' rights, not just those of a single group. The Supreme Court's unanimous decision in NRA versus Vullo is a landmark for free speech. It makes clear that government officials cannot coerce private companies to silence disfavored voices. The case wasn't about the NRA's views, but about protecting all Americans from government retaliation. The ruling shields advocacy groups, religious organizations, and individuals from bureaucratic overreach. It draws a bright line between persuasion and unconstitutional coercion. The unanimity of the decision elevates it above partisan politics. Free speech is an American value, essential for democracy. Vullo's legacy is its defense of the First Amendment for everyone, especially the unpopular. The decision prevents the government from picking winners and losers in public debate. It's a victory for the Constitution and for every citizen who values freedom.